Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports.
Hey, it's Tito. Jeff Thitoff here with you. Thanks so much for tuning in. We got a lot to talk about today. We'll recap the Super Bowl, put kind of a bow on the 2022-2023 NFL season. We're going to talk about a big name making another appearance on the golf course, some rumblings, some things that went on as far as college, as far as NFL quarterback, the carousel starting. We're going to see where that thing lands. Also some college football talk as well. This is FanStream Sports. Thanks so much for tuning in. Powered by DSP Media. Follow me on Twitter @FitHappens. And again, I am Jeff Thitoff. Let's get going here. Let's start talking about the Super Bowl. What are the epic, great games in Super Bowl history? 38-35 win for the Chiefs. And it's too bad that the big story came out. One of the big stories was about the field and how badly the shape of the field was. And it makes me think that we either need to have a permanent site for the Super Bowl somewhere. And I don't care if it's in a dome. I don't like dome football in the regular season. I don't like dome football in the postseason. For the Super Bowl, though, I get it. I don't want to see it decided, the champion of the NFL, by the poor field. Not that it was decided, but it certainly lessened the product a little bit. And that's the part that bothers me. It's interesting that you have that much time to devote to getting the field ready and still have the conditions that it had. That part is too bad. Like I said, it affected both teams equally. I get it. But the NFL, the way that they maybe go to a permanent site somewhere and say the Super Bowl's going to be in this spot every year and have the field dedicated to that and really work on that as well. So, but overall, though, like a great game, a competitive game. Got to see, the scary moment with Patrick Mahomes when he gets hurt at the end of the first half. And looks like we're not sure if he's going to come back in the second half and play or not. But he did come back, throws 3 touchdown passes, wins the MVP award. It seems like it's, almost always going to be a quarterback who becomes the MVP of a Super Bowl as long as he plays okay. And if Philly had won, it would have been Jalen Hurts, rushing for 3 touchdowns and throwing for 1 as well. And the game did not come down to that last-minute holding call. That's not what decided the game. I felt like that the Chiefs were going to win the game anyway, I thought. They were at least going to score. And it just made it virtually impossible at that point for the Eagles to mount any kind of a comeback to tie it and send it to overtime. Because the holding call happens, and then the Chiefs get a new set of downs, force the Eagles to burn their timeouts. They get the ball back. They've got 8 seconds left or whatever. And Hurts does not have the arm to throw it as far as he needed to. Andy Reid, by the way, genius. Genius the way, this Philadelphia defense that we watched all year long with racked up a tremendous number of sacks, put pressure on teams. And there was all the talk about how is Kansas City going to be able to do anything against this Chiefs team. So they came out, it was guys like, and what I like about what Reid does is it's guys that kind of come out of nowhere or don't have much of a role in the regular season. And then all of a sudden they make big plays in this game when he had 2 weeks to prepare for the Eagles. Pacheco, the running back, rushing for over 70 yards. You also had Juju Smith-Schuster making plays. Kadarius Toney, who got released by the Giants earlier in the season. Sky Moore played well also. They had virtually no running game outside of Pacheco because Clyde Edwards-Helaire was ruled inactive, which was surprising because he was healthy. That's another storyline to follow, by the way, for next season. But that he can put anybody in there and do this. That's the genius of Andy Reid. And I had a debate the other day about this. Where does he rank among the all-time coaches? Clearly, Andy Reid's a Hall of Famer. No doubt about it. 2 Super Bowls, and what he's been able to do, he's like, he's top 10 all-time in wins. He might be top 5. He's got a lot of wins. But where does he rank all-time? Is he a top 10 coach for you? Is he a top 20 coach? I know he's no worse than the top 20. And I think of guys like, Vince Lombardi, Chuck Noll, Tom Landry, Don Shula, guys like that, Belichick, Parcells, all these other guys you could throw out there. And so I'm not convinced he's a top 10 all time. He's definitely a Hall of Famer and did a fantastic job for this game. Good for him. Good for Mahomes. Important for their legacies to get this win. You feel much better about it going 2-1 in Super Bowls than sliding to 1-2. And now what's the ceiling for the Chiefs and Mahomes? As a society, sports fans, we like to say, is he going to be the GOAT? Will he pass Brady? Can he catch Brady in Super Bowls? All stuff. It's tough to do. But as long as Andy Reid is there, they've got a shot every year. Reid and Mahomes, as long as Mahomes is healthy and Reid's there, every year they got a shot at winning a Super Bowl. And it's become a desirable place. It's desirable for veterans, I should put it that way. If you get a chance to come, like if you're a veteran near the end of your career and you want to get a ring or get another ring in some cases, going to Kansas City, you might take less money, which they would have to do to probably fit studs under the cap. But so it's a desirable place to go and chase a Super Bowl. There's a great place to go. San Francisco, Philadelphia still. But those are all places that are good places to go if you're trying to get that elusive ring or one more ring as it may be. But that's what Mahomes and Andy Reid have done with that Chiefs organization. Jerick McKinnon, by the way, one of the smartest plays you'll ever see in a Super Bowl. He could have gone for a touchdown. Think about that. He gave up a shot at a touchdown, which is just such a huge moment for any football player. Walter Payton never got a chance to score a touchdown, which really sucks. I think Fridge got 2 that game, and they never gave the ball to Payton to score a touchdown. So that was something I think always bothered Payton. McKinnon had a chance to get his touchdown, to get a touchdown in the Super Bowl. The Eagles were clearly letting him score near the end of the game there. But McKinnon gave it up, gave himself up at the 1-yard line to keep that clock running. And far too often we see players that aren't smart enough in the moment. Smart's not the right word because I'm not trying to say they were dumb, but don't have the wherewithal to make that play. They see the end zone, and that's your goal as an offensive player. Score the touchdown. Get the first down. Get as many yards as you can. And McKinnon was smart enough to take the knee and force the clock to keep running, force the Eagles use their timeouts, and that's why there was 8 seconds left on the clock when Jalen Hurts and the Eagles got the ball back for a chance to go for the tying field goal. By the way, great game by Jalen Hurts. When Jalen Hurts came into the league, I wasn't convinced he'd be a great quarterback. And last year in the playoffs, when they got absolutely manhandled by Tampa Bay, I said, well, this might be what Jalen Hurts, that might have been a ceiling last year, getting them where they are. I was dead wrong about it. Jalen Hurts looked great out there, looked confident, and he talks like a leader. And this Eagles team is in great hands. Nick Sirianni is doing a fantastic job with them as well. The Eagles and Chiefs both in tough divisions. The Eagles will have an easier path, I think, to the Super Bowl than the Chiefs will next year. But it's fun to watch how Jalen Hurts grew this year as a quarterback and as a leader, and seeing Mahomes get his thing too. And now it was a great Super Bowl. I'm glad the Chiefs won. I predicted the Chiefs in the over. I had Chiefs 35-31. I think was my prediction, or 31-28, one or the other. I think I said one on the radio station and one different one here, but it was in that range. So I'm not surprised the game went over. I'm not surprised the Chiefs won, but it was a fun Super Bowl to watch. And that's all I can really say about that. So we're going to take a quick break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the NFL and where the quarterbacks may be falling, where they may end up going when free agency hits or when trades start hitting. We'll talk about all that next right here on the Jeff Thitoff Show.
Hello, sports fans. FanStream Sports.
Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan, but he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell him JP sent you.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com.
Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, one unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashland Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Coming back at you. Now, more Fan Stream Sports.
I'm trying to really put a bow on, although we're going to talk NFL year round. I really can't put a bow on the season because the next season sounds like 2023, 2024 has already started. So it's Derek Carr got released by the Raiders, totally expected there. The Raiders signed a big extension, which was like a $40 million cap hit coming up for this year, 3-year deal. It was going to pay him a lot of money. Then they decided, they also gave him a no trade clause. And then they decided late in this past season that, you know what, we're going to move on from Derek Carr, even though it wasn't really his fault. I think Derek Carr is an above average quarterback. So they sat him down at the end of the season. And then they had until 3 days after the Super Bowl to decide if they're going to release him or not. If they don't, his salary becomes fully guaranteed and the Raiders are locked in to pay it. So they did give Carr permission to go talk to teams if he wanted to, as long as they were going to meet the Raiders' asking price in a deal. Carr went and talked to the Saints. Dennis Allen, the head coach there, and he was the head coach with the Raiders when they drafted Derek Carr. So, but nothing came. Derek Carr refused to waive his no trade clause. He wants to be able to go wherever he wants to go. I get it. He'll get a contract somewhere, making big money again. Where will he go? Well, there's a few places that make the Saints certainly do make sense. That's an option. The Jets could happen. Carolina's a decent landing spot, perhaps there as well. With it's a winnable division. Atlanta's a good spot also. Again, that same winnable division because we know Tampa Bay loses Brady. The Saints quarterback mess really with Jameis Winston and the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, Red Rocket, Red Rifle, whatever one it is for him, I can't remember. And then Carolina, Atlanta. That's the most winnable division in the NFL. So Carr could end up going there. I could see him. I can see Tampa Bay kicking the tires on him, but Tampa Bay's got a lot of talent there as well. So an NFC South squad is probably the best landing spot for Derek Carr. I don't see Tennessee. I don't see Houston in the mix. But he's still, look, I like Derek Carr as a quarterback. I think the Raiders did him wrong, and they should have kept him and kept building with him. They had injury issues this year that weren't his fault, but The Raiders are hell-bent. Josh McDaniels wants his guy, whoever that may be. I think at one point McDaniels may have hoped to be Tom Brady, but Brady is now retired, obviously, off into the sunset there and filed his retirement paperwork. Another guy who may be of interest somewhere is going to be Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers also signed a massive extension, a 2-year deal. He got 2 years left on his deal at, $50 million a year, some ridiculous amount. And the way they ended their season, first of all, Rodgers did not integrate himself really well with the young receivers and the new receivers that were on that Green Bay team, and that certainly held them back. So Rodgers, he has said he's going to go into darkness for 4 days, which is stupid. He says he's going to go into darkness for 4 days and just have a slot for food. And when he comes out of that, he's going to have a clear decision on his mind what he wants to do, if he wants to keep playing, if he wants to play for the Packers or play somewhere else. The Packers have hinted they would honor it. If he wants to go somewhere else, they will try to facilitate that. I believe the Packers are tired of the drama surrounding Aaron Rodgers. Quite frankly, so am I. Look, guy's 39. He could still play at a high level for another 4 or 5 years, I think, much like Brady did. He could still do it. I just don't like how Rodgers is always doing some like cryptic things, saying cryptic things, making weird references, and never being fully transparent in situations. And like I say, he hurt the team last year. He was a big reason why they were as bad as they were. I heard a story. I've told the story before. I heard Tony Dungy tell the story on the Dan Patrick Show, but when the Indianapolis Colts drafted Anthony Gonzalez out of Ohio State, Anthony Gonzalez, the wide receiver for Ohio State, was still, the way the calendar worked at Ohio State, he was still going to school and was not able to attend like the rookie camp and couldn't be around the facility, but he's still going to school because of the way the Ohio State school schedule worked. Well, Dungy said that Peyton Manning, the quarterback at the Colts at the time, every week drove himself from Indy to Columbus to work out with Anthony Gonzalez, teach him the playbook, develop a rapport with him. And every week Tony would say, he'd leave in the morning, he'd go there, he'd spend 3 hours with him, 3-4 hours with him, whatever it was, and then drive back to Indianapolis. And it wasn't well publicized, but that's the kind of stuff that Manning did because he knew this is a rookie receiver. We're going to need this guy if we want to be successful. If I want to make another postseason run, if I want to try to get to Super Bowl, this relationship has to be solid. So that's what Peyton Manning did when he didn't have to. Aaron Rodgers didn't do any of that trying to work with these receivers. Didn't try to, and they got some good guys there. Christian Watson showed he can be a really good player and can be counted on. He called later in the season, the things he was doing, they could have been things he was doing earlier in the season when the Packers still had like legitimate reasons to play for something. Like they could have taken a lead, could have gotten home, could have gotten to the playoffs. It's just, there's so many things that could have happened differently if Aaron Rodgers was not so damn weird and distant. And so that's what hurt the Packers. That's why I'm fed up with Aaron Rodgers. And we'll see what happens with him. I could see him with the Raiders. I don't think he'll go to San Francisco. I think the 49ers are going to just stick with what they got. Garoppolo, also an option out there for some of these guys. I don't know what the Titans are going to do with Ryan Tannehill. There's going to be a lot of changes with the quarterback position across the NFL, not to mention what's going to happen with the draft. And there's probably going to be 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 10. The Bears, there's all this talk about maybe the Bears will trade Justin Fields and then draft Bryce Young. That'd be stupid. It makes no sense to do that. The Bears should trade back in the draft, though. They do not need a quarterback. I'm fine with the growth Justin Fields has. He just needs a better offensive line and better playmakers around him. But I'm okay if the Bears slide back. They should slide back. They should get the best possible deal they can, slide back in the draft, and accumulate all these other draft assets. There's plenty of teams want to move up. The Colts want to move up. The Colts absolutely want to get a quarterback out of this draft. And they're picking right now at 4, I believe. The Raiders, they probably want to get a quarterback as well. Carolina, they can wait or they can move up. There's all kinds of options for these teams. The Texans sitting there too. They're going to take one as well. I fully expect that the Bears will trade out of it. Wouldn't surprise if Indianapolis is the one that moves up. And I think that C.J. Stroud is the best of the bunch. You got Stroud, you got Bryce Young, you got Will Levis, and you got Anthony Richardson from Florida. I'm not sold on Levis. I haven't seen enough consistency out of Richardson yet. For me, it's Stroud and Young. And the difference for me is I like Stroud's I like his pro potential better because of his size and because of the way I think he's a better passer than Bryce Young. whenever you draft a quarterback of Bryce Young's size, you have to move the pocket around. And I know Jalen Hurts, well, he's 6'1", I think. He, obviously the Super Bowl this year, but you've seen other guys struggle when they aren't that tall. I think only a couple of quarterbacks since '84 have won Super Bowls that have been 6 feet tall or less. Drew Brees is one of them. The one escapes me right now, but only 2 quarterbacks have been that short and won a Super Bowl. You've seen Tua have struggles, Tua Tagovailoa in Miami, with just the abuse his body has been taking as a smaller guy. What I like about C.J. Stroud is that he is smart enough to avoid contact. He knows when to. And one of the things, not to compare him to Peyton Manning, but that's one of the things Peyton Manning was always good at as well, was able to know when to fall down, know when to throw the ball away, and know when when you do want to take off, when you can run and get a few yards. Stroud, same way at Ohio State. He caught a lot of flack for not being a more mobile quarterback. He ran when he had to in the game against Michigan and against Georgia, which they should have won that one. My God. But he does have that ability. So that is something I like about C.J. Stroud. I think Stroud is the better pro prospect. That's the one I would rather have. I would rather not have a smaller quarterback. Now, if there was no C.J. Stroud, I might go with Bryce Young. But I think C.J. Stroud, though, is the best quarterback in the draft this year, the best pro prospect. And I think someone's going to jump up to one and take him. It's going to be a fun draft, though. There's something like 4 quarterbacks right there. And if they all go in the top 10, they're going to be expected to start pretty quickly, I think. I think that, you see it now. There's not the patience with quarterbacks like the Packers are having with Jordan Love, where this will be his 4th year, and he hasn't taken any real meaningful snaps for the Packers. But we'll keep an eye on that. And that's why I say the NFL, it's really never over. It's never done. The NFL is constantly, now that the Super Bowl's over, the Derek Carr thing going on, Rodgers is going to come out and say something. Free agency will hit. We'll have the draft come up. And before, right back into, all the rookie camps and things like that going on, the voluntary workouts that'll happen, all that kind of stuff, mini camps, all that'll be around the corner before you even know it. All right, we're taking a quick break here. Coming back, there's a big name back on the golf course coming up this week. We'll do that next right here on the Tito Thitoff Show on FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media.
Hello, sports fans. FanStream Sports.
Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan, but he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell him JP sent you.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com.
Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or italianoinsurance.com. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashland Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Coming back at you. Now, more FanStream Sports.
All right, other big news in golf. Tiger Woods is back. He is walking a course for the first time since we saw him last at I still call it the British Open, but it was the Open Championship out there. And he was struggling then. He's played since then with a cart, but now he's coming back to play in the Genesis Invitational Riviera. Starts on Thursday out in LA. And it's going to be a loaded field. Out of the top 25 players that are ranked right now on the PGA Tour, 23 of them will be there. So, and I can't wait to watch it. It's always good to see Tiger back and doing this, but it's amazing how he got to a point where, Tiger said that he would not play unless he thought he could win. So you're saying, that didn't say he expected to win, but he kind of actually may have said he expects to win. Every tournament he plays, he expects to win. And although it's a great story, if you think about it, I want to see him do well in the majors. It'll be fun to watch this as well. And if you think about how lucky we are in this generation, some of the players we've seen in different sports, and where they rank among the all-time greats. When you've got, in basketball, people my age, and maybe not your, but Jordan though, and Bird and Magic, and now LeBron. You got to see Kobe and Shaq and all these great players in the NFL with Brady and Peyton Manning. What they've been able to do in, guys like Randy Moss and Emmitt Smith, some of the great running backs of all time, and NHL with Gretzky and Lemieux, and then Crosby. And I'm trying to think of a sport where I'm missing there. NFL, baseball, and Major League Baseball. We've gotten to see Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, and dominant pitchers also, Greg Maddux. So I go on and on. Tiger though is in that, he's really above most of them. Tiger's in that Muhammad Ali range as far as importance to the sport and how he's single-handedly grown the sport exponentially. So I know that a lot of Tiger's physical issues were of his own doing in a lot of ways. And mistakes he made, or maybe poor choice at different times, or what led to certain things that took him away from the golf course, his personal life, and also the car accident, things like that. So there's certainly been things that Tiger, I don't want to say self-inflicted, but they were his own fault in some cases. But it's always fun to see him back out there on the course, and I don't want to see him go out and shoot 80 and have a hard time walking. I hope that we'll be able to see him at least healthier than the last time we saw him. Even when I saw him play in that night event, the 12-hole event where it was him and McIlroy against Spieth and Thomas. And even with that, you saw it when he riding a cart, but just walking to his ball, you could tell it was an effort for him to do that. And I'm hoping when they tee it off on Thursday out there at the Genesis, the Genesis at the Riviera, Genesis Invitational at Riviera, I hope that we see a healthier Tiger Woods. But It'll be. I can't wait to see the ratings numbers on it as well. I got to believe a lot of people will be locked into that, but I think that universally people probably root for Tiger now, whereas maybe when he first came up, they might not have as much. He's become such a beloved figure in sports now. He might be the most beloved figure in sports right now across all sports. I think that he might be that, and so that'll be fun to watch this week. Also, other things going on. I want to get into some college football talk now because 2024 is going to be a season like we've never seen before for a number of reasons. And first of all, it's going to be because we just got the news that Oklahoma and Texas have been given permission to leave the Big 12 early. They were supposed to be there through the 2024 season, joining the SEC in 2025. Well, they had an agreement money-wise. They're paying $100 million in an exit fee to get them both out of there after the 2023 season. So they will join those two schools, the Big 12, in 2025, which is significant, or 2024, which is significant. That's the first year of the 12-team college football playoff. A weird thing, there was another provision of that where the Texas-Michigan game, I believe in 2024, it was part of the deal was that game has to be played in Ann Arbor instead of in Austin. They'll make a return trip, I think, like 3 or 4 years after that. But when Michigan plays Texas for their home and home, it's the first game's got to be in Ann Arbor. The Big Ten also, speaking of Michigan and Ann Arbor, the Big Ten 2024 also is when USC and UCLA join the conference. And that's going to be significant. I can't wait to see how they do the scheduling in both these conferences because both conferences said they're going to play 9 games. But SC hasn't officially said that. Big Ten's going to play 9 conference games. And you've got 16 teams in there. And the thought is there will be 3 permanent rivals that you would play. And then the other 12 teams you would play over a course of 4 years. You play them each twice, right? I think it's 4 years. So anyway, and I can't wait to see how they decide to pit the permanent rival things. Obviously, there's going to be Ohio State's going to play Michigan every year. Michigan's going to play Michigan State every year. Nebraska's going to play Iowa every year. But when you start incorporating USC and UCLA into it, it gets more interesting because it's almost unfair. It could be unfair to a team like Ohio State or Michigan State. It could be unfair to USC, depending how you do it, because there's not 16 elite teams in the Big Ten. There's just not. There's, right now, the best teams are Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin. I'm not putting Iowa in that group yet. But, you've got those 4 teams in there. And then you add in USC and UCLA. So if you want Ohio State to play Michigan and Penn State, then it's not really fair to stick them with USC or UCLA every single year. Also, that's 3 tough games. But if you're in the Big Ten, you want the eyes on that game. You want eyes on Michigan, USC, or Michigan, UCLA, which means you could, Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, USC. That'd be tough for them. There's no way Northwestern gets that daunting of a schedule, or Illinois gets that daunting of a schedule. The lesser teams will get an easier slate because they don't have rivalries with really good teams. So it's going to be interesting to see how the SEC and the Big Ten, how they rectify that issue. Because I know as an Ohio State fan, I'd love to see Michigan. It's still Michigan every year, yes, but I'd love to see USC every year. I think that'd be fun. But at what expense? I don't know if I want to see Ohio State play Michigan, USC, and Penn State every single year. The fact being 12 into the playoff, though, makes it easier to swallow if that's the case. Because even though you'll have a situation where Ohio State would have a tougher schedule every year probably than most of the Big Ten, 12-team playoff makes it easier to get past a tough schedule. It makes it easier to get in with 2 losses if that happens. That's what the 12-team playoff is going to do. It should, whereas other sports, when you expand playoffs, it waters down the regular season. I think this makes the regular season better in college football. I think you'll start seeing tougher games being scheduled within conferences and also out of conference because you can suffer a loss or 2 and still get in. Whereas, in past years, if you had 2 losses, you weren't getting in. It just wasn't going to happen. So the playoff now expanding this way makes it easier to have a tougher schedule and a tougher matchup. All right, coming up next, we're going to stick with the college football talk. And nepotism in Iowa. It's going to cost somebody. It's cost somebody some money. It's costing Iowa some respect. We'll talk about that next year on the Jeff Thitoff Show right here on FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media Online.
Hello, sports fans. FanStream Sports.
Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell him JP sent you.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com.
Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, one unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashland Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Coming back at you. Now, more FanStream Sports.
All right, coaching news. Brian Ferentz for Iowa. He is the son of Kirk Ferentz, who's been at Iowa forever. That's always an interesting thing, too. When you think about the little sidebar here, I guess, but how many different coaching staffs have, or schools have had the same head coaches, like two head coaches over a long span? You know, Michigan State from Judd Heathcote to Tom Izzo. Iowa, another one there when you go from Hayden Fry to Kirk Ferentz. They've been there for a long, long time. Built up a lot of respect within that program and has done some good things there. However, His son, Brian Ferentz, is the offensive coordinator. And Iowa's offense last year was just epically bad. I believe they averaged fewer points a game or fewer passing yards a game than anybody in the country among Power 5 schools except Rutgers. So they had an awful, awful offense. And Iowa does not have the stones to say to Kirk, we're firing Brian. They don't have the stones to do it. And Kirk doesn't want to say, Brian, you're fired. So they came up with a revised contract for them, for Brian Ferentz as the offensive coordinator for the upcoming season. He is taking a $50,000 pay cut. Takes from $900,000 to $850,000. Okay, let's not cry over that. But he took a $50,000 pay cut for the upcoming season. Additionally, this contract terminates in 2024. I think June 30th is the date. If the following two criteria are not met. So we know going in that Brian Ferentz, if these two things don't happen, his contract is terminated. Now, it doesn't mean he can't sign another one and stay on board, but there's a lot of pressure on him this year to improve the Iowa offense. The first one is they have to have at least 7 wins. That includes the bowl game. They have at least 7 wins in the season in order for if that gets met plus this other criteria, his contract then will be re-upped. But the other one is they have to average 25 points per game. I think last year they averaged like 17 or some ridiculously low number, but 25 points a game they have to average this season. What's stupid about it? First of all, it's dumb to put that kind of pressure on your offensive coordinator. Because now every time someone watches an Iowa game, we're not going to track how good Iowa is. We're going to track where they're at in the scoring average thing, and it's going to encourage Kirk Ferentz to run up the score on some easy schools when they play early in the season, where they might throw the second string. I can see Brian saying, hey, Dad, I need more points here. Let's get up to 70 if we can. Let's do this against this team because I'm going to need them later on when I'm playing Michigan or whoever else is on the schedule, Nebraska. I'm going to need to have that cushion. So we're going to be watching that, the 7 wins thing also. But 25 points a game he has to average or the contract terminates. A lot of pressure on him, a lot of pressure on his dad, and it shows that Iowa, it's a weak move for Iowa. They're trying to show strength, the administration, by saying we put these standards in there. 25 points a game in college football is not that great, but also it's saying we don't want to fire him. We don't want to piss Kirk off. So we're going to put this in there to make it a little harder for him. But if he does it, he's going to stick around. That's what it looks like. So it's a weird situation for Iowa football, for Brian Ferentz, and for his dad, Kirk. But I did hear one suggestion on social media about every time Iowa plays, they should have a number, like they have the score up in the right-hand corner. They'd be right-hand corner there. That's good. Anyway, they have a score up there, and they show the total number of points of what they're averaging at this point in the season, so we can follow along every time we flip on an Iowa game. I never watch an Iowa game start to finish. I would just be browsing through and seeing if it pops up there or not and what the number is. We talked college ball conferences in the last segment, and the Pac-12 met with SMU recently, and they might want SMU to join the Pac-12. And this is ridiculous to me. What's going to have to happen is the Big 12, the ACC, and the Pac-12 are going to have to merge into 2 conferences, essentially, is what they're going to have to do. Because with the 3 they've got and the schools they're adding, it's too watered down in those conferences. Now, the good news for some of these schools is that, you win your conference, you're going to get into the playoff. You might not be seeded high enough to get a bye. You might get a crappy draw. But if you win your conference, you will get a shot in the CFP. So that's one reason maybe if you're the Big 12 to stay where you're at. But as far as, eyes on the product, TV deals, future media rights deals, it's not nearly as great, not even close, can't even sniff what the Big 10 and SEC are doing. SMU last year drew an average about 25,000 paid fans per game, which was down near the bottom. I think only 2 teams drew less was the number possibly. But anyways, so they don't draw many fans at SMU. Interest in the football program is not nearly what it used to be, I guess, when they were cheating with Eric Dickerson and Craig James and those guys and Ron Meyer. But interest is not there. And I know the Pac-12 wants to expand their reach and get out, to the SMU area, get the Texas area again and do that. But it just doesn't seem like that SMU is the right choice for them. Now, I know that they are spending $100 million to upgrade their facilities at SMU, but they're still just not drawing fans there like they should or like they would have for a Pac-12 thing. But so you lose USC and UCLA, you come back with SMU. That's a huge drop off there. So I'm surprised that that is something that the Pac-12 is considering. But it's the way it is now. People are trying to get as many guys in there as they can. 24,971 was their average paid attendance last year, lower than all but 2 Power 5 schools. So thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate you spending time with me today, and we'll get back at it again. Again, FanStream Sports. I'm Jeff Tito Thitoff. Follow me on Twitter at ThatHappens. We'll talk again real soon. And, always something happening in the sports world that's interesting, so we'll make sure we get after it. Thanks again. Have a great day.